Joining me on the program now from the Free Speech Union, Steph Martin. Steph, kia ora, thanks for your time today.
Good morning, Andrew. Lovely to be with you.
Now, we have chatted about this before, but we've gone from theory to scary reality in this regard. I know Free Speech Union have recently put forward a survey, got a strong response to that survey. And hey, we've got these two things, the concern about social media, the concern about the unintended consequences of a ban on social media. How are people feeling out there, Steph? Are they more concerned about social media or the ban? What's the balance?
So there's two kinds of feedback that we're kind of in the process of seeking at the moment. One is from our supporter base that we have been collecting survey data from for a few kind of working days now.
Yep.
And then we are also looking at doing a independent survey of the wider public this week. So far, I can give a bit of an indication. We haven't closed the survey yet, so it's still accessible for our supporters to do. But we've got a bit of an indicator of where things are looking, and how things are looking so far is very definitive, actually, is very much in the camp of we're very concerned about the unintended consequences of this. We're very concerned about digital ID coming through as being the actual consequence of what happens here. We're very concerned about this law not actually being successful in protecting kids, but inhibiting lawful speech along the way. So it's very much falling into that camp.
It is a complicated issue, and hey, well done for the work that you do in this space, and the survey jumps into a lot of the more nuanced aspects about this proposed legislation, some of the consequences there. But I know for some people they say, hey, I am so worried about my kids, my grandkids, I'm quite happy to give up some of my freedom, some of my liberty in order for them to be in a protected or safer space in this regard. You can understand people's motivations in wanting to protect children without necessarily realising what it is they're giving up, not just for them, but for society.
I can absolutely sympathise with the concerns that people have about what some of our young people are being exposed to. Absolutely. There's stuff online that young people are seeing that they shouldn't see.
Yep.
For sure, that's a problem. But the question is, there's a saying around this, right, about the cure? The cure can't be worse than the disease.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
and I think that's what we're talking about here. The consequences that stand to take place from like any response that might be like taken to this are really problematic. We don't know yet. We don't have a good system of age gating. So we don't have a good solution to this. And, the bill that's being put on the table here is sort of modeled on the version that's been going through in Australia. But in Australia, they've passed the bill, but they don't know the details yet of how it's actually going to be implemented or how it's going to work. This is not a good approach to lawmaking, right? To say we're going to put a law into place, we're going to ratify it, and then we'll work out what the details look like.
Wow. Yeah, that is...
That's a real problem.
That is particularly clumsy. Well, at least the Aussies are doing it first, so we can watch them trip up and go, oh, we won't do it that way, although we're not far behind by the sounds of things.
With this, we're now not really taking that into account.
Yeah.
I would agree with you that a sensible thing to do here would be to kind of sit back and watch and just see what happens there, see what solutions they come up with, see what approaches they come up with, and then look at that and say, okay, are there lessons that we can learn from how this goes over there that we could look towards thinking about here? But we're jumping in while they're still in the process of working out what it's going to look like. So we're really not putting ourselves in a position to gain the wisdom from their experience.
What is the worst case scenario in this regard? What is it that deeply concerns you about this legislation, Steph?
Well, I think there are a number of significant concerns, and definitely the one that's come through from our supporters is kind of top of mind for me as well. Obviously, being the Free Speech Union, it's consistent with our key concern that essentially, because we don't have, you can't just check whether kids are 16 or above or below. You have to check everyone. And so it becomes necessary to age identify everyone who uses the internet. And if you're doing that, then there's no good way to do it, as far as I'm aware, without some form of digital ID. I don't think there is a way. And so it's the slippery slope idea that by introducing this, we end up with a digital ID. We end up with a digital ID. We end up with prohibitions on lawful speech,
Yep.
and lawful speech being prevented on the internet in a situation like what we've got in the UK. There are other concerns as well that are worth thinking about, things around like data privacy, data sovereignty, these sorts of things. But the immediate concern is around a situation like what we're seeing in the UK
Yep.
with, people's speech online, lawful speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically you're giving your search history to the government and saying, hey, if you don't like anything that I looked at on my phone over the weekend, feel free to turn up my house, confiscate my phone, arrest me without due process. This is already happening in the UK. This is something that we can see as a consequence of this legislation. As well as the survey, though, you propose different ways of doing this. If we are concerned about the impact that social media is having on under-16s, it's not like, oh, well, we have to do this to solve the problem. There's other strategies out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the recommendations that we talked about when we spoke previously about this, when we were looking at kind of the select committee oral submission, was around kind of opt-in approaches that people can choose to take. And those exist. And actually, in the process of kind of engaging with this issue, I've learned about a lot of kind of tools that are out there that I didn't know existed before. And I think they're not widely known about or understood. And I think looking at those kind of opt-in approaches would be a really beneficial way to go. There are things around like at a device level, so people being able to implement like local parental controls over devices.
Yep.
Right. And so you can actually get tools that can enable you to select the kinds of content that you want to be exposed to and not. And there are really quite clever tools around that we could look at sort of education and resourcing for, that enable people to kind of take control of their own digital experience and make these decisions for themselves. And that's also really consistent with what the feedback that we're getting from our supporters at the moment is saying that the approach that they find acceptable is that kind of local parental device controls.
Yep. And hey, the money that the government is looking to invest in digital ID, if that was put into supporting these types of programs and an education process around these programs, that would be money well spent to keep children safe.
Absolutely. And if we allocated those resources into kind of like providing them as resources to parents.
Yep.
So like, potentially even paying the bill of those things if we're looking at wanting to resource just to introduce them or to give people exposure, or, I'm not sure how exactly the specifics of that would look, but, looking at resourcing, providing that to people, and also providing the education around what's available so that people can choose for themselves the kinds of tools that they want to uptake. I think that would be a much better allocation of resources.
Yeah. Hey, the bill has been drawn, as we mentioned at the beginning. Is the genie out of the bottle? Will this just continue through the process? And hey, like the Aussies, we roll the dice, we see what happens to our nation and our human rights?
Well, I think there's reason to think that this is likely to just go through.
Yeah.
It seems to have broad-based support from National and Labour, but we are very concerned about it, and we really encourage people to kind of, I guess, take a stand. If they don't support this bill, then we'll be looking to take a stand on it, and so encourage people to kind of keep up with our work, obviously, through our website, but also just having your own personal stand as well on this. I think there was a trigonometry episode about it actually a while ago, and I think it was Constantine Kissin said, "This is not one we can afford to sit out."
Yeah.
And I think it's really true for us here now too. This is not something that we can afford to just kind of let go by. This is something we really need to engage with.
Yeah, and hey, if we don't understand it, jump into the Free Speech Union website, take the survey. There's still an opportunity to do that as well, and really engage with the process. And if there's any good news in this, Steph, it's that we are probably within 12 months of an election result now. We have the politicians' attention more now than we have at any other time in the cycle. between now and Christmas is, even in the next couple of weeks, this is the time to engage with our local MP, with the party that we support and the parties we don't support. Now's the time for us to have our say whilst we still have the opportunity to do so, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And there is also, just in terms of kind of reading up about it as well, we did do the oral submission to the select committee.
Yep.
It was about 4 or 6 weeks ago. And that oral submission is actually available on our website too. And so that kind of breaks down some of the issues. And so if people wanted to read a bit more, that would be a really good place to look.
Don't sit this one out. Check it out at fsu.nz. Steph, thanks so much for the work you do. Thanks for joining us. Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.